Good morning, everybody. Rudrajeet,
Hey, Piyush.
I think we can start. So, good morning, all. I will quickly introduce myself and Rudrajeet, and then probably we can start with a very interesting conversation. Exciting. I'm really excited for today's conversation. There's a lot of insights that we can learn from Rudrajeet today from his current venture, which is videocx.io. So, I am Piyush Bhamare, today's host for this podcast with Rudrajeet. I am the GTM strategist. And today we have Rudrajeet with us, uh, who's come. Uh, I find him to be very interesting because before starting this podcast and him having a small talk where I was trying and understanding his journey, and he brings in a lot of experience from sales and marketing, working with companies like Cadbury, Group M, and then he started his own venture from 2006, and this second venture which he started in 2017 and finally launched in 2019, which is now, kind of, he has got 80 plus top banks of his customers. It's an enterprise grade video banking platform, and we are going to uncover all the facets of the story of videocx.io, especially the growth that they got typically in the COVID time. And that's where I'm really interested. Rudrajeet, maybe Rudrajeet, you can just briefly introduce yourself and then probably we can start.
Sure. Thanks, Piyush, and thanks, Sandeep, for having me as a part of this. So, Piyush, in a nutshell, about 22 years of experience overall. I've been in different roles, sales, marketing, advertising roles prior to my entrepreneurial journey. About 18 years of that, I've been an entrepreneur. 2006 started my first startup. We were into cybersecurity, funded by Sequoia Capital, Sama Capital, which back then used to be SVB. Ran that as a founder, CEO, product head for about 11 years. Exited that startup, started Video CX in 2017. 2019 is when we launched our platform. Been a great journey, completely India focused story. We are a SaaS as well as a banking tech product company. So that's a bit. I've written a book on startups, breaking out and making big. It was published by HarperCollins. So wherever I get the opportunity to give back to the ecosystem in whichever form factor, always happy to do that. So all yours, Piyush.
Thank you for this quick introduction. So let's get into the real story now. So you said you started the company back in 2017. Um, how did you actually validate that this is a real problem at that time, specifically for banks, which are not easy to which are not easy to crack, interact, or validate? How did you do that?
So Piyush, I don't think any idea should ever be evaluated only basis a particular sector, and which is what we also did. I think our product thesis started from the fact that consumer interaction or customer interaction is always the topmost uh, requirement or problem statement or the most evolving uh, aspect in a large enterprise. And as digitization was growing and as our simple video calls on WhatsApp, were becoming a reality, and this is still pre-COVID. So 2017, people were, maybe doing 2 or 3 video calls on WhatsApp, in a week. That's when we realized that video interaction with customers is going to be a requirement. We didn't think of a particular sector. We said, listen, if any large enterprise in the world wants to connect with customers over a video call, then they will need a enterprise grade solution. They can't use a Google Meet or a WhatsApp or a Zoom. And
Correct.
it's as simple as that. And that's the theory that we said, okay, let's build a product, which is something I tell a lot of startups also, that when you're building a product, focus a lot more on the product than how you particularly are going to take this to which sector. So that was a validation. That was a 2017 thesis. There is no enterprise grade video calling platform today. Let's build one and see.
So how did BFSI happen then?
So obviously in India, if you're a tech company, BFSI is always the early adopters or the first adopters of any new technology. we were security experts. We understood from our DNA from our previous startup. We understood security extremely well. We also understood selling to large enterprises extremely well because that's what we were doing in our previous startup. So the first choice was to just let's go and speak to a few banks and insurance companies and see what they say. Luckily, the first two or three companies that we spoke to loved the idea and they picked it up. So it was not a conscious decision. It was a trial, and that trial worked.
So, what was the initial wage which actually got you entry into the BFSI? So, it was just
Uh,
network, or you actually did an outbound or something that you
no,
thought,
we did a very proper outbound. I
okay,
think and you're the expert in this matter, but if it comes to BFSI, uh, it's a big ocean. Each and every company itself is an ocean.
absolutely.
Uh, every department, every region, every team is a totally different company altogether. And just by taking one name of a bank or an insurance company does not solve it. So there was a proper GTM, but our GTM, because we were very early and we were almost just seed funded, we
Hmm.
just had a couple of checks that our investors had written for us. Our entire GTM was one to one, which is
Okay.
literally mapping folks. Yeah, so Kotak and HDFC Life were our first customers.
Hmm.
There was a
Right.
reason why we had selected them also, which we can talk about. But we actually went behind folks who liked innovation, who wanted innovation. We tracked them down, we spoke to them, we met them, didn't pitch, we just showed them, listen, this is something new we're trying to do. What are your views? So that's how
Mm.
we got a few early guys.
And any, as you said, any particular reason for choosing these two?
The thing about both these companies is they are extremely innovative.
Innovation.
They are extremely open for innovation.
Mm.
They're companies who are constantly on the lookout of meeting, startups. They are very okay working with startups. SDFC Life, I remember I think was almost the first customer that did a POC with us. No questions asked. They said, we love your thesis. Let's try the product. Kotak, same thing. Kotak, I think within a month said that, even if we use it for like 5 accounts, we are going to start paying you. Uh,
Wow. So
so
no objections. I mean, before they, you know, signed a check, or I would say they actually gave you the go ahead to do the POC. No objections as such.
So I would say there were no objections, but there was a long list of things that you need to comply with in the future.
Hmm. Correct.
And I think, I always say this, that the real real made in India is there. If you want Indian startups to do well, the real way to support them is folks in large enterprises who are ready to risk a little bit to work with these startups. And I
Hmm.
think that's what Kotak and HDFC Life did with us and with many other, and they keep doing that. Is that they said, okay, you have potential, you're mature founders, which does become a very important thing. And here is a list of things that you need to cover up in the next few months, but we'll start working with you now.
So, do you mean that the previous credibility that you already had from your previous venture that actually worked out for you during this, the initial, I would say the typical sales conversation where they, the BFSI typically, checks a lot of credibility because
Yeah,
it's always a risk mitigation for them. That's how their
right.
business, runs. So,
So yes, but to kind of dissect that question that you've asked, when it comes to product security, data security, I don't think anything else works other than the fact that you have to meet the checklist.
yeah,
Nothing else matters. And this was 2019.
100%.
2026, it's just non-negotiable. You may be the biggest company in the world in terms of banking tech. You may be a two-member startup. You have to meet the checklist. Now, post the checklist, yes, there are a lot of things, because I think the biggest problem in FSI is not on the startup side. It's actually on the enterprise side, which is for them to onboard a new platform is not easy.
Yeah,
There are tons of processes. There's a
yes,
lot of work, approvals,
lot of approvals.
bandwidth crunch that goes into onboarding any platform. It could be biggies like Oracles of the world
Yep.
or a two-member startup. So the enterprise itself is, the folks that you'll work with are always on the lookout that are you a company that's going to go a long way in my bank? Which means that are you a mature founder? Do you know what you're building? Are you going to keep building this? Are you going to be alive in the next 2 3 years?
Correct.
Are you
Yeah.
going to meet the requirements that we have as a bank? Are you going to be able to sustain the pressure when your platform starts working? And that I think comes with uh, the only way to answer that is the founder. You know, all large enterprises want to meet the founder, want to see the founder, want to talk to the founder before they onboard the platform. And if your founder is a little mature, he has a little bit of gray hair. I had lots back then that always helps.
Absolutely. So, on that note, how did you identify the right personas whom you should pursue? Maybe initially, but let's say when the conversation actually started, as you rightly said, in the BFSI, it's a multi-buying. It's just not one person can decide everything. So, how did you navigate that? And who actually helped you to do, to succeed with the POCs in the initial phase of it?
So the personas were very clear because we were looking at customer facing teams, customer facing roles in the process part of it.
So
We were
it's
not
though it started from the business side of it or not.
always the business side. So the any large enterprise is broken into three parts, right? One is a buyer,
Yes,
the other is an implementer, and the third is the user. So buyer is the person that you need to meet, and buyer is the person who writes the check.
correct,
Like the question is very simple: whose budget is this going to go into?
correct.
And no matter who else is going to be the end user or the implementer, the buyer is the person that you need to convince, and the buyer should always be the first person that you should meet. So in our case, it was very clear. We were not a call center facing platform. We were always a business to customer facing platform. So we were looking at credit teams, we were looking at KYC teams, we were looking at customer support teams, onboarding teams. These were the business teams that we were meeting. And that was a conscious decision that we took. We said that we are not going to go the call center route. We are going to go the business decision route, saying that if you want something to be done faster and better, this is a platform that will help you. And we went to the buyers directly. So in our case, they were either the credit heads or the retail banking heads or the digital heads. We met them. Once they liked it, then we were passed on to the CIO or the CTO teams for implementation,
Mm-hmm.
which is then you have to go through the whole checklist of how your platform works. And then the end user is always, the call center teams or the customer facing teams. So the personas of the buyers is what we focused on, and and we targeted them because that was the team that had the maximum budget, that has the maximum budget in large enterprises.
But Rudraji, एक question मुझे हमेशा आता है because I have been part of this journey many a times in my previous stint. So कई बार buyers, you get a mandate from buyers and CIOs also, but end user बहुत बार गाड़ी ढकेल देता है, and that's where you fail. They are not ready to adopt the new system. They don't want to change their behavior. Especially I've seen a lot in BFSI or manufacturing side of it. So how did you tackle that?
Yeah, honestly, 75% of why your platform will work is if you come into the need to have category or the nice to have category. And every SaaS or tech platform that I mentor or I advise, I always tell them that decide whether you're in the need to have or the nice to have, and both are important. It may sound that need to have is more important, but that's not the case. Nice to have is also important. But if you are in the need to have category, then your journey is much more simpler because then you're a business requirement. The other thing that I always do, and which is what we followed also, the first video call that somebody did in our platform in an enterprise, that call itself had to show the value of doing something better, faster, or cheaper.
Correct.
Because nobody in enterprises, these large enterprises, has the time and patience to see the value of your platform for months.
Yes.
It doesn't
Very
work.
true. Very true.
And 2019 was still simpler. 2026 is even more tougher. People don't have the time patience, bandwidth, energy to to evaluate something for months. Because you have to show your value in first call, second call, 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, full stop. If you are able to do that, and if your rest of the the iceberg below the water is fine, which is your security, enterprise integrations, all of that is fine, the end user gets convinced very easily.
And how is a typical journey from the POC to actual, the deployment of the solution across department? How's that?
uh, See, thanks to the ecosystem, it has become much better. It's very methodical now,
Mm-hmm.
where if the buyer does feel that yes, this is something I want to try and I want to do, it's become fairly methodical. Now you have project teams within large enterprises. Uh, you have dedicated folks in every department whose job is just to try new items, do a POC, make a project checklist, and hand it over to the back to the buyer saying that do you want to do this. Uh, One thing that we have done, and which has worked for us, is that we ourselves showcase a project plan to these enterprises. We don't leave anything for them to figure out.
Yeah, that's more
We
important.
are, yeah. So a lot of time what happens is, and I've seen other startups do that, is which is they enter the enterprise and say ki, अच्छा sir आप बताइए क्या करना है, and then you are at the mercy of how organized they are.
Yeah, true.
Whereas what we do is that when we enter, we say that listen, here is a project plan. These are the 20 things you need to do. These are the dates at which you can do them. This is how we will support you. These are the number of meetings, call sessions we need to have. So what happens is, firstly, the enterprise gets a lot of confidence saying, okay, these guys know what they do,
Mm.
and they are far more organized as a startup. And then it gives a roadmap towards what you're doing, and it's not an endless conversation. कि वो POC चलता रहेगा
चलता रहेगा, correct.
6 महीने तक.
एंड सो आपने ये प्राइसिंग कैसे फिगर आउट किया? BFSI में थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी हो जाता है. Sometimes it's trust, sometimes it's cost, sometimes there is different politics going on. So how did you manage the pricing part?
So our first pricing was that we tried to compare ourselves to other similar tools available in the market.
Okay.
Which was Zoom for that matter, or a Slack, which were video calling platforms. Teams was not that popular back then. So we said, okay, whatever a Zoom is charging, we are going to charge $1 more or $2 more, because Zoom is open source and we are secure, we are enterprise grade, so we can command that price. And in FSI, it's never about what you are charging. It's always about how are you justifying what you are charging. Because new technologies, nobody knows how to price them. So our funda was simple. I said, if Zoom is charging $14, for an open source, video calling platform for a paid user, we are charging $16 because we have so many other enterprise features. Right. And that worked. Everybody just needs a reason or a logic why something is priced in certain way. But what we did after that is that once we had a few customers on this, we worked with our customers to understand what else do we need to build to price this. And that's where I say that is an art and not a science. And so we have customers who are paying us more than our initial price. We have customers who are paying us less also. Because there were two strategies that we applied. We said, one, we will never lose a customer on pricing.
Okay, that's very bold.
Because eventually getting into a large enterprise and being stable for 12 months ensures that they are not going to throw you out for pricing. Correct. Onboarding a startup, onboarding a platform is extremely tough for these large enterprises. So once you're in, next year onwards, you can command, better pricing, or you can, improvise on that. So we said we'll never lose.
But they do large contracts, right? I mean, long contracts, 5 years, 3-year contract. How do you?
Yeah. So that's that's where the art is. That if you get your price on day one, you should be okay signing a 3-year platform, contract. If you're not getting your price on day one, that's where the negotiation, starts, which is like, okay, this year you don't have budget, you don't know the worth of my platform, you don't have that much of money. Okay, I'll sign this up for the first year, but next year onwards, let's keep it open. And I, as ruthless as large enterprises are, or procurement teams are when it comes to pricing, I think they understand that, for a startup to give that value to us, they need to be paid. And if I'm not going to pay them, then the product itself will, become an issue for me next year, which means I have to go through this whole cycle again.
Yeah, true.
So, so I think not losing a customer, okay to be low on pricing for the first year, but having the leverage in the contract for a negotiation after 1 year, that is something that we followed, where we were not getting the price that we asked for.
Now, so you got your early wins, and then it was a time when you wanted to actually scale because now you have, the right tool in place, which is already uh, verified by a couple of, validated by a couple of big banks in India. And then how did you set the GTM, which will, take it to video CX to the next level? And I and if we talk about the COVID time, when I anticipate that you had the curve where you had the biggest growth of your venture. How did you do that? That was a quite tough time, right? I mean, BFSI, as I know, these guys prefer to have face-to-face meetings.
Sure.
Typically, things don't turn that easy when you are handling them through remote or calls. So, how did you do that? 80
Yeah, I
plus
think
clients.
yeah,
It's a
I
big,
think the second answer is the simpler one, which is that was a time where everybody was working from home. And there was no way that you could meet them. But the flip side of it was that we used to have scheduled calendar calls at 11 p.m. also, because the whole industry was on a standstill. And yes, COVID was an era which helped us a lot in certain ways, because we were the only platform that time that allowed customer interaction, because
mm,
branches were closed and nobody was traveling anywhere. But I'll come to your first question. See, uh, you have to understand what is it that the individual on the other side who's evaluating your platform wants. And I always use this theory, and my team also does that today. That first, how do you identify people?
correct.
So your product, your use case, which team in the bank is going to use this and buy this, that's something that is going to come out of the industry. You have to go and meet your customers initial days to understand, okay, where does my platform fit? Like credit verification was a team where our platform fit the best.
Oh,
And how did we learn it? Because we went to Kotak, we spoke to them, we met them, we understood the pain point. We literally sat with credit managers, understood it, and that's where we formed our product thesis. Now, once we got a few early wins, we started understanding that who's the person in these companies who's going to benefit by implementing our platform. And you have to understand the individual. And this is where I keep saying that GTM is art and not science.
true.
GTM is not, I have to integrate 10 tools and take 4 AI templates and mix up something and come back.
Correct.
Enterprise GTM is art. The person who's going to either get a promotion, get a salary hike, get a better appraisal, get an incentive. You have to find the person who's going to get one of these four things because of implementing your platform. So by implementing or using your platform, who's the person who's going to benefit internally? You have to find that guy. He's going to be your anchor.
But how will you find that?
So in that team, you have to figure out that guy. You have to speak to people. You have to literally start, calling and emailing people and figure out. And that person is never the CXO.
Yes.
You know, that person is never the CXO. That person is two levels below the CXO. He's the guy who wants, promotion or a better appraisal or a better role next year. By implementing your platform, he's going to get that. So you have to find that guy. He's the guy who's going to internally go and sell you. He's the guy who's going to internally going to go and 10 people together and say, "Arey, apne ko ye naya platform implement karna chahiye."
Correct.
So spending time in finding that person is the more important part of the GTM. Then our entire engine was in-house. So we hired a guy who only went on LinkedIn and found profiles.
Okay.
We didn't use, random keywords. We didn't say कि यार ये query run करो or you know get data from some database company and send an email to everyone. We said no. We have a guy, even today we have a guy who goes on LinkedIn, researches, finds individual profiles, gets their email IDs, mobile numbers, then we target those people. So it's a in-house process. Our emails are not sent by tools. We send one-to-one curated emails by hand. We have a 2-3 member desk that sends out our emails. We don't do email blasts because enterprises don't like them. We
Yes.
don't put any pixels for tracking. These come as emails from people that you think you know, so the readability is higher. We do a lot of follow up emails. We do a lot of WhatsApp reach outs, which are one to one. We will address you by saying, "Hi, Piyush. We are connected on LinkedIn," and so on. So it's a very
Personalized.
personalized one to one GTM that we do in large enterprise.
So the biggest thing that I could, actually see from the conversation that actually you nailed your ICP perfectly, and that's I think the crux of this entire discussion, where the entire thing, whether it's the initial conversation, the kind of identification process that you have, and then the kind of personalization that you have added in terms of the entire reach out campaign, and then also probably having the POCs and taking it to the next level, the kind of the entire ICPs, the gatekeepers at each and every stage. You nailed it right. And that is probably helping you out in terms of getting that clarity. Okay, whom should I write to? Because otherwise, you rightly mentioned, it just becomes a blast game.
Yeah,
And that's where, I see most of the founders make a lot of mistakes. And then, as you said, once you lose the image, because when you are blasting continuously, they start seeing you like in spam, and then they
yeah,
start
yeah,
ignoring you.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
sometimes, even if you have a great product, you just lose that.
No, you have to think from the other side. These folks, so let's say digital teams, if you take as an example, they must be getting at least 20 to 25 emails a day
Aram se.
on
Usse
new
zyada.
on new startups, on new
Absolutely.
product startups.
Yeah,
They are marked on about 100, 150 odd emails in their internal communication.
absolutely.
They are subscribed to 10, 15 newsletters. So
True.
if you are trying to battle, about 200 odd emails in a day that this guy gets, and you want your email to stand out and for him to read that, it's not going to happen if your email also looks like the other, 40, 50.
Correct.
So it has to be something which he feels that somebody got up today and wrote this email only for me. And
Yeah,
I'm not a part of a massive, Excel
true.
list here sent to all.
True. So, Rudrajit, I mean, now since, the best part is that you, from the conversation, it looks like you are driving this, because you know such a minute level things when it comes to the customer interaction when it starts. So how do you see the entire sales cycle in the BFSI? Because sometimes it's a jittery for many people, that they just can't have the stamina to stand there and just be the part of that journey, where there are constant follow-ups, or sometimes it's such a frustrating that the persona that you are having as a champion just changes the company, or changes the organization, or sometimes it's internal restructuring that happens, and suddenly okay, ये बंदा क्रेडिट में था, अभी ये बंदा लोन्स में चला गया है, क्या करेंगे? So how do you handle this? I mean, seriously, I think the audience also wants to know this, because that's where you really need that courage and stamina. Okay, मुझे करना है, रुकना है, बात करनी है, इसको आगे लेके जाना है. How do you break that entire sales cycle, and how do you see this?
Yeah, honestly, that is a very internal thing. Like, why have you become an entrepreneur? And whichever startups that I've invested in and I mentor also, I keep saying that find a reason beyond money on why you're doing your startup,
Very
because it's a it's going to kill you. You know that this journey is going to kill you if you are in this to only to make money, because the day you start making money, then it becomes boring. So I think somewhere for me and everybody, I think a part of our team, I think it was the calling is to do something which will make which will help the country. Today we've processed over 100 million video KYCs in the last 6 years.
Wow.
And so many examples of how remote onboarding for in the financial inclusion helps, and we are a contributor to that. So I think patience, stamina comes from your inner calling on what you want to do.
Very true.
But I'll also answer one thing, and this is something that I sometimes feel that some startups or founders miss, is that the founder is always the biggest brand. And Dipinder Goyal has also said this from Zomato in one of his interviews, that if you're looking at a work-life balance as a founder, stop. It's not going to happen. People who say that after some time the founder should let go, and things like that, doesn't happen. You are always the biggest brand. I have never missed a single call from any customer of mine. And now there are interns also that we work with, in these large banks. We are a BAU platform now.
Yes.
So, and there are management trainees, interns, or there are, entry level engineers who come.
I get that.
Even if they pick up the phone and call me for the smallest thing, I will pick up the call, because what that leaves that guy with is a brand saying, this company is always available. The support is superb. The founder is always available. Whatever time I call, escalation metrics, non-escalation metrics, doesn't matter. He picks up the phone. I may just call up and say, listen, I'll get somebody else to call you. So enterprise, India, BFSI, the founder always has to be available. It doesn't work if you're not.
Very true.
That is very important. And then your brand grows. So like when people, as you said, from one department to another department, he will always remember, Are, video calling चाहिए, अरे वो रुद्रजीत को phone करो, वो आके मिलेगा.
Correct. But क्या हो जाता है ना, मैं so in my last episode also, there are a lot of questions like, most in BFSI typically, business buyers, sometimes get excited with your ideas. But then all of a sudden, after 2 months, there's nothing happening. आगे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. You are just keep following up with them, but nothing is going ahead. उस scene में क्या करना चाहिए? What do you say on that?
Yeah, if your platform is not something which people are, buying in the first 3 months of your pitch, then you are in the nice to have category. And now this is there's a positive and a negative side to it, which means that if you're not being evaluated seriously, I should not say being bought, but if you're not being evaluated very seriously in the first 3 months of your pitching your platform to a large enterprise or to a team, then you're in the nice to have category. If you're in the nice to have category, then there is something that you need to keep doing in your platform for it to become more important. And one thing that we did also 2017, 18 and 19 and till date is, no matter what is happening on the GTM side or the sales side, the product development has to be absolutely at the same pace. 2019 second half is when our GTM was very slow. We just had 2 customers, but my product team was building as if we are the number 1 platform in the world.
Wow.
Because if you're not building and if you're waiting for your customer to come and tell you, "Arey, ye chahiye, wo chahiye," then you are expecting your customers to build your platform. That means you are not innovating, you are not thinking, you are not taking, the first step towards building something. So if you are in the nice to have category, you have to figure out a way to keep getting closer to need to have. You may never, it's not easy to just sit one day and say, "Yaar, चल ये 10 feature बना लेते हैं and tomorrow all the banks will line up outside." Doesn't happen. Everybody is doing that. You have competition also in every category. But if you're not being bought in 3 to 6 months, keep working on your platform to get to the need to have category or closer to that.
Okay. Now, as we are coming to the end of this session, so the most favorite and trending topic is, uh, with now AI becoming central to all, the tech buying, tech purchase, tech experimentation, whatever you call it. Um, where do you see the real hype versus, the reality, and then how it is, going to make impact?
So I speak at a college where uh, I'm talking on AI on to a lot of college students. The analogy or the example that I give them is that, what happened to computers, in 95 onwards, is what is happening with AI today. So in 95, if you saw computers, there were these big, huge, bulky monitors and a CPU and a keyboard and everything. And nobody knew that this 3 4 5 piece thing which is on my study table is tomorrow going to 25 years going to allow me to order food sitting at home,
Okay.
or is going to navigate me using a map when I'm driving my car. Nobody could draw that. People thought computer is something you use
Agree.
in offices, 10 लोगों के बीच में एक होता है, word excel powerpoint, and that's it, life ends there. Max to max, some complex queries can be solved.
Yeah.
AI is that today. Today, people are feeling that AI is, only going to help me automate some process, automate some, back end jobs. थोड़ा बहुत कुछ मुझे, data में help कर देगा, कुछ कर देगा. Today is the 1995 for AI. You know, so AI is going to the way computers today in the form of a mobile phone and a laptop, whatever, is a part of everything that we do. Every job today uses a mobile phone in some or the other. But I have a carpenter who comes to home and has stopped using a measuring tape. I have a seventh standard pass carpenter who comes to my house and uses an app on his phone to measure cupboard kaise banana hai.
Hmm.
As simple as that. So
Hmm.
AI is going to do that. AI is going to be a part of every activity that we do during the day. Now, is it a hype? Absolutely not. Is it too early today to figure out what all AI is going to do? Yes. Uh, are a lot of use cases of AI which people are thinking today are going to die down? The answer is yes. A lot of applications that were built on internet or softwares that were built, are dead today. But if
True.
you don't do that today, you'll not reach that point.
Yeah.
So if you are a startup, if you are a tech company today, and if you are not uh, failing on AI today every day, then you are not removing all the things from your journey to reach that success point. Like we launched our AI enabled video PD, credit verification module 3 months back, 2 months back. We're launching another version, in the next 2 months. We're launching another one in the next 4 months. Do I think that they're going to be there 3 years down the line? Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe that entire code that we've written is going to be thrown out. But unless we write that code today, we will not write the code which will, be a big thing 5 years down the line. So write, experiment, POC, write as much code as you can, do as much POC testing with everything that your product has in and around AI, and keep using it, throwing it, using it, throwing it, keep evolving and see where it takes you.
How do you see it in happening in BFSI? Because that's one of the industry, I would say, not one of the, but the only industry which is very risk averse, because obviously they are managing, people's money. How they are looking at AI? Because you must be having a lot of conversations with your existing customers as well as the new ones. Where do you see what is their thought process right now?
So, as I said, every bit of what the industry wants to do, the FSI does today, they are looking at how AI can help them there. Every bit, right from the smallest part of how do I know who's walking into my branch? You know, can I do a facial scan of that customer uh, do a face match with my existing database, populate the entire profile of that customer. Before they walk to the teller should say, "Hi, Mr. Piyush, how are you doing?" And things like that. Right from there, obviously going up to detecting cyber fraud threats using AI. Every smallest part is being evaluated under AI. Is it the toughest industry to implement something with respect to AI? The answer is yes, because you're talking about customer data, you're talking about responsible AI, you're talking about, you know, uh, so the biggest problem in an FSI is that you can't use everything available in the open source world. It
Mm.
has to be hosted in India. It has to be hosted on the bank server. It has to meet the 100 enterprise requirements. It has to be something where the source code has to be with the bank. It has to be something that the bank employees understand. And then it has to be compliant with RBI regulations, financial ministry regulations, tons of things. But if you are able to build stuff after all of this, it's the biggest industry in the country. You know, we are still talking about 35% of the country being banked. You're talking about 75, 60 to 70% of people yet to, come into the financial inclusion umbrella. So if you can solve AI-based problems for the FSI industry, uh, it's $1 billion market, product market to be in.
Wow. So lot of insights, I would say, from today's conversation, and thank you, Rudrajit. Thank you very much for sharing these nuggets. Especially, I love the part of ICP, the way you have nailed it, and the way you actually executed it in terms of getting those customers on board, and the clarity, especially when you talked about the AI angle in the current scenario. It just shows that the kind of clarity that you have. So maybe we can just open the forum for any questions from the audience.
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Mohammed. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Hi, Rudrajeet. I think thanks for all the insights that you have given, and Piyush, thanks for all the questions. They were very brilliant. So I wanted to double click a little bit on the point that you mentioned about the differentiation between need to have and nice to have, right? And before that, a bit of a background about me, right? So I've spent like 16 plus years in Goldman Sachs, building the agentic AI. Last year we launched that, which to crack the financial crime compliance, which was first on the Wall Street, and that kind of gave us an idea to bring that similar technology to the Indian banks, and we started on that journey. And what we are discovering now is that when we talk to the Indian banks, while they want to look at it, they may not be at the same level of urgency on implementing something like this within the compliance space. They're still warming up compared to the other larger banks in US, right? So what and agentic AI is a very different thing here, because soon what feels to you like I probably don't need it, or it's nice to have, suddenly becomes need to have. So what do you do to kind of find the partner who are kind of willing to invest in something that could be really come into that category in 6 months from now, but they may not see it at this point in time?
Yeah. So that's it's a good problem to have if you ask me from an experienced, point of view. So let me answer the question in a different way. If you want to be the first mover in any category, you will have to be ready to be early. You know, if you like that's what happened with us also. 2019, when we introduced a video calling platform, people said, I don't need a video platform. My customers are very happy to come to branch. I have a huge sales force, 20,000 people. They go to everybody's house. We don't want a video calling platform. But suddenly COVID happened and people realized that video is mandatory. And when they used video, they realized, oh, video is so much better. So 2019, we spent being early, But if we were not early, we wouldn't have been the first mover. So if you are early, you have to be patient. Obviously, the answer of whether it's going to be 6 months or 1 year is not known, which means you have to be extremely frugal as a startup. to ensure that you survive the time period when that early becomes needed. So that's one answer from a how you run your startup perspective. From a pure play product perspective, if you are early, you have to spend time in creating a brand presence in your ICP's head, so that when they start thinking about you or your category, you're the first name that comes to your mind. So if you're in enterprise and FSI, meet, meet, meet. You have to just keep meeting people day in, day out if you think you're an early entry into the sector. Consider it as a brand creation or a brand marketing activity where you should have gone and met 50 people, 100 people in that period and tell them, listen, this is who we are. We are ready. Whenever you think this category opens for you as an enterprise, give us a call.
Awesome. Thank you, Rudrajeet. Very insightful.
Any more questions, guys? Rudrajit, anything other than what we discussed? Anything specific that you want to share?
No, I think see, when it comes to GTM, especially in India and FSI or non-FSI, I think large enterprises more or less work the same.
Yes.
Anywhere you meet a large FMCG company or a bank.
Yes.
I think the two things that I always want to add to the industry is and to founders is that GTM is art. And increasingly what I'm seeing is founders saying that GTM is integrating 5-6 tools, creating templates, and executing them. There's a lot of art. The founder has to sit every day and think, how can your communication be better? I personally, even today, after working with 80 of the largest enterprises in the country, check email templates that my team sends.
Wow.
In our campaigns. I may be doing that 1 hour in a week now. I used to do that 2 hours every day earlier. And I literally check if that email can be shortened, by one line. Can we improve the way we are writing a subject line? Can we improve the image that we are sending on WhatsApp? By any way that it becomes more catchy when a person sees, oh, there's a new feature that Video 6 has launched. It's art to that minute level. I have made cold calls to customers last week to see how my new feature or new product pitch is taken by a customer. So I've called people. I've not taken my name. I've not said that I'm Rudrajeet. I've taken some other name, and I've called them and said, "Hi, I'm from this team. This is a cold call. We've launched a new product," because that gives me the understanding on how my GTM is perceived in the market. So unless you're doing that, as an art, you're not going to scale up. And enterprises will always remain art. We don't pitch our product to ICICI Bank the way we pitch to PNB MetLife. We don't pitch our product to a 100-member NBFC which just got their license 2 months back the same way we pitch it to Tata Capital, which is our biggest NBFC client. Every enterprise has a different GTM strategy. Yeah, I think, sorry, somebody...
Srinath, I guess, has a question.
Hey, so thanks a lot for the session. Really amazing insight. So my question was in terms of pivoting and how early is it, how okay is it to pivot early? So I'll give you a context. So when we are trying to reach out to certain banking personas with our idea of in the compliance area, so one of our clients, one of the prospects which we are talking to reached out and said that, okay, why don't you try this instead? This might be helpful to us. So we are talking to other compliance officers who are our current persona we are targeting, but this new scenario which is coming in as an ask from the customer directly seems too important to miss out. So, but then while some of our stack is still usable for this new idea, we are going to get divided between the two concepts. So we won't be able to build both together. But the second idea does make a lot of sense. It might end up giving us revenue, and for survival, it might be a great idea for us. So, at what point is it okay to pivot and to think on this?
Yeah. The toughest question, which, even if Steve Jobs was alive, and if he would have been asked this question, even he would have said this is the toughest question to answer for any founder. But I'll give you three ways in which you can answer that for yourself. One, if you had to rewrite your story, which product would you go with? The one that you are building now or the one that you would want to pivot to?
Right. So I think the one we are building now, we have built a lot of a concept around it. So we have kind of identified ourselves around what we are building now. But the initial feedback from the customers is that this is an interesting problem, but it'll take a lot more convincing, lot more. So it seems a much more like, I don't know if the market is ready for it kind of a problem, but we have all identified to the problem right now. The new one, we have not even explored enough to know whether we identified to it yet.
Okay. So why I'm asking that question is because sometimes your gut gives you the answer, and sometimes you pursue a product just because you spent a lot of time on it, which is human psychology.
Sunk
So
cost.
yeah, there's you've just lived with it, right? So you say कि अरे मैंने इतना time spend किया इतना कुछ किया. If you had to rewrite your story and you think that you would go with a newer product, the answer is in front of you. That's one. Two, survival is the most important thing always. There are multi-billion-dollar companies that missed one small thing, and BlackBerry and Nokia being the biggest examples. They missed one simple thing that we should outsource our OS, and today they don't exist. So survival is most important. So if something is going to help you survive, and that survival should not be just 3 months, 6 months. If that survival is going to pay your bills, I will give it a lot of importance forever. Three is, if you are having customers who are telling you that this is a problem that is, they want solved, take the next step. Go tell them that, listen, if I build this product, will you buy it for this much amount of money? If one guy, one persona, one ICP is saying yes to it, quickly take it to 10 other personas and ICPs and 10 different enterprises. Tell them, listen, this is a product that we are wanting to build. We wanted to get a early feedback from you. Will you buy this? Will you buy it at this price? And things like that. Do a very, very quick dipstick in the market to see if you have more people who are ready to put in money there. If people are not committing money, and when I'm saying committing, which means verbally, then it's a bigger problem, for you to decide. But if people are ready to commit, you're going to make money, you can build it, you have the expertise, and it's something that people will pay for a longer time, which is going to help you pay your bills. Pivoting is never bad, man. The biggest of the startups in the world have pivoted. Google was not supposed to be a search engine at all. YouTube was not supposed to be a video streaming site.
This is really helpful. I think especially the part of validating with the others, because we take one customer for granted that, if this works, automatically the others would buy, but that's not necessarily true. So thanks a lot for the session. Yeah.
And cross-pollinate. This was something I wanted to mention in one of the previous questions also. In enterprise, in BFSI, for GTM, cross-pollinate. You get one customer, go and tell 100 other people that we onboarded that customer. You get your second customer, go and tell the next 120 that you got this customer. So if your one customer has given you an idea, take that idea, go and meet 10 people saying, XYZ bank has told us to build this. They are ready to put money, sugarcoat a few things. They are ready to put in money. Are you also seeing this as a problem? You want to be a part of the journey where we build this product? It will get built as per what you want. So it will help you a lot. Maybe we'll give you 3-6 months of free usage also. Come help us build this product.
Makes sense. Yeah, definitely work on this. Thanks a lot.
And I have also seen Rudrajeet working this. Cross-pollination is very important because that's your initial wage, I would say. When you are managing with fewer resources and your ICP becomes, very important, and that time this particular strategy really works out. So there's one more question, Rudrajit, on the chat by Kshitij. He's saying, "Thank you, Rudrajit, for sharing the gems on GTM and your journey with Video CX. My question is, what books, podcasts, and folks you follow on enterprise GTMs and founders you look up to?"
Yeah, I actually don't follow many, but my investor, Vaibhav Donkunwar, he runs Better Capital. Better Capital today is India's largest, most funded seed fund. I think about 350 or 300 plus startups today. It's a solo GP. He's a single guy. It's not a firm. He doesn't have any partners, nothing. He alone invests it. Trust me, he's the only guy that I follow now. Because my problem is that there is so much of jazz or faff around what people talk today that it takes a lot of time to figure out the crux, and Vaibhav only talks the crux. And if you want to know what's happening globally, he's a guy who runs an Indo-US cross fund. He's half the time in the Valley, half the time in India, 300 plus startups, so he knows what's happening globally also. So whoever you are in the tech ecosystem in the world, follow Vaibhav. Don't miss his tweets. I sometimes copy his tweets and his LinkedIn posts, and I keep them because I keep referring to them as time passes. So only guy that I follow.
I can completely vouch for that, because in my previous two stints, he was one of the investors in Smink as well and Imoca as well. He's part of the investors. I can vouch.
And sorry, I follow my customers. I listen to my customers the most. And no podcast, nothing. I speak to them. I don't miss a single call from my customer, no matter what the level is, no matter what the role is. And I speak to all of them as if that, I'm their friend. I be it a big guy, small guy, MD, entry level guy, I speak to them as if I am here to work with them to build something better. And that's helped us, be where we are.
Any other question, Kshitij? Okay, fine. So I guess we are about to conclude the session. Thank you very much, Rudrajit, once again for the insights
Thanks
that
a
you
lot.
gave us, and the BFSI take my team for running this podcast around the BFSI tech, getting the insights, especially from the GTM side and the ICP side of it. Thank
So
you.
happy to help you. Thanks a lot for having me over. Thanks a lot, Sandeep. Thanks everyone. I'm there on LinkedIn. Anything that I can help with in the future in your journeys, also feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers.
Good day.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Thanks, Rudrajeet. Thanks, Piyush.